Protests in connection with the municipal elections on October 11 are expected to continue in Mozambique throughout the month. The courts have ordered that ballots be recounted in Matola and that new elections be held in Chokwe, Kamavota and Kamfumo. According to the ruling Frelimo party, it has won 64 of the 65 municipalities backed. Renamo, the main opposition group, called for the statewide protest on October 17th and boycotted the National Parliament session. For more on this story, we're joined now by Tomas Queface, a journalist based in Mozambique. Tomas Queface, pardon me. Very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. A really developing story with many moving parts. What is the latest as you and I speak this morning?
Right now, as you mentioned, some district courts in Mozambique have called for the rerun and the recount of the elections. Some other courts have decided not to judge the claims by opposition parties in Mozambique. So the body that will decide the fate of these elections is going to be the Constitutional Court. The official bodies of the Election Commission in Mozambique have to announce the final results of the municipal elections by 26th of October. And after that, they will have to submit the results to the Constitutional Court. The Constitutional Court is the one that will decide whether to approve or disapprove some of the municipal elections results. What we know for sure is that the amount of fraud and irregularities in these elections was immense. Just to give you an example, in northern Mozambique, in southern Mozambique, some of the courts have called the elections to be recounted and rerun because the spread was huge. Frelimo claims that they won 64 out of 65 municipalities, but we are pretty sure that in majority or a significant amount of municipalities, Frelimo won by fraud. Just to give you an example of how the fraud was created in these elections, is that Frelimo, when they realized that they lost in most of the polling stations, for example in Maputo and Matola, they, in connection with the Election Commission, they manipulated the final results, which are going to be submitted to the Constitutional Courts. We believe that the opposition will have a chance to reclaim back Matola, Maputo, which is in the capital of Mozambique, because they have the original copies of the final results which have been they managed to gather from the polling stations. So, but what is at stake also in Mozambique is at what extent the courts are independent. We saw some of the courts calling for the rerun of the elections being independent, autonomous, but we also saw other courts in other provinces of Mozambique being influenced by the ruling party. The Constitutional Court in the past have shown some tendency of being in favor of the ruling party, Frelimo, but the problem right now is that the amount of fraud is so huge that we believe that the Constitutional Court also will be somehow independent, but politics is politics. We're trying to see at what extent they will be independent after all.
Tomas, of course, there's also fears that such irregularities and contestation could compromise the country's hard-won stability after years of civil war waged by Renamo. What is at stake on that front as we try and assess the bigger impact of these results?
Well, the Renamo leader has shown some calm on seeing the results of the elections. Renamo was holding 7 municipalities from the 7 elections, and right now they have no municipality under their control. Many people thought that Renamo will decide to go back to Bush and start a new war, but Renamo leaders suggested that they're not interested in war. We don't know if Renamo still have the capability to go to war, because in the last agreement with the government, they end up their weapons. But we saw in the past, Renamo reached so many agreements with the state. They claim to have end over all the arms and weapons. But time and again, they resume to war. But we feel like this leadership of Renamo is, at least so far, going through all the judicial processes in order to reclaim the victims in whether they presume they won. So in terms of war, I think there's no prospects of war or any kind of conflict in Mozambique. But the problem is ordinary people are feeling like their voices are not being heard through the democratic process. And what that might lead is some kind of extreme violence that we're seeing, for example, in Cabo Delgado's insurgents, because they feel they're not being part of the mainstream society, they're not being benefit of the huge amount of investments, money, employments in Cabo Delgado. And then when we do not hold democratic process in which it's a process in which people, the majority, make themselves heard, then it will lead people to opt for more extreme ways of speaking out. This is a big problem for Mozambique in the future.
Yeah. So as you and I speak, where is it all heading? What sort of deadlines have been put in place for this matter to be finalized?
As I said before, until 26th of October, the Election Commission has to publish the final results of the municipal elections, and those results must be approved by the Constitutional Court. I'm not exactly sure what's the deadline for the Constitutional Court to examine all the results and the claims that have been submitted by the opposition parties, but those parties who won the elections, the municipal elections that took place in early October, they will take office in January. So there is still plenty of time here for the Constitutional Court to take a decision, and we all Mozambicans will have a final look at this process. It's a turbulent process, and next year the general elections are coming. So we are all very anxious of what's going to happen in these two elections that we are in right now.
Thank you so much for that update, Tomas Queface, who is